Well, John, we're live. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
We're here, man.
On a Sunday, Labor Day weekend, right? Getting all ready. John's draft was canceled tonight, so we were able to talk a little fancy. This is a fancy Firebox for all you joining in. Brought to you by Heat Ratio Sports at Fox Sports a Gambler. Tell a little something different tonight. Me and John going toe to toe, talking a little fantasy football, getting ready for your drafts. I already have my first draft. First thing I want to get into before we even go into, we got a lot of topics tonight. It's all about Keenan Allen, Rob Gronkowski, CEH, obviously the love affair with the Kansas City running back, Adrian Peterson signs the Detroit Lions. What does that tell us for Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift? There's so many different scenarios we could talk about, and obviously most of the draft is going to happen next week. Andre checking in. What's up, Andre? Always here, my man. Hey, Andre, did you have a draft yet? How many drafts you have? That's what I want to hear. And before you even get into that, John, let me ask you something, because my big money league this year decided to just not do fantasy football for a year. Decided to take the year off and say we're just going to do some DraftKings. You know what I mean? And absolutely, man. Yo, thanks for following me. I follow back, buddy. I appreciate it. The show, myself, John, whoever can help each other out, man. You got a lot of cool stuff on there, Andre. I'll be checking you out for real, definitely, and I appreciate all your support. But John, let me ask you: all your leagues, have they stayed standard and become, or have they all gone away, or what's going on with your fantasy world right now?
Every league's going on, but I will tell you, like, usually you start getting draft dates like August 1st, by August 7th.
Yep.
Dude, it was like August 21st. I didn't even have a date set. And then I had 4 drafts in succession: Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. A little snafu tonight. Shout out to Rob. Hope all is well. I'll see you on Wednesday. But I mean, NFL season's here. Period.
I can't believe it.
Drafting.
I can't believe it.
We're doing this. And I'll tell you what, when you said your big money leagues like not going on, look, I mean, there's some people that do multiple leagues, or some people that do one league. Everybody's different. Sometimes it's just one league that you really care about. But I will tell you, if you don't do fantasy football this year, you're going to regret it mid-season. You're going to regret it week 3 when you're sitting there and have, all these games are on and you're used to rooting for your guys and you have no guys to root for. So,
I think the DraftKings things helped though. What the alternative was, and Andre says his draft's tomorrow. Can't wait, Andre. Let me hear what your top pick is. What number are you picking? Do you know yet? So while I'm talking, let me know. DraftKings, I think, gives a good alternative, and that's what a lot of guys decide to do. We have 20 guys now in a league on DraftKings, and at least you can streamline all your picks week to week, right? So you don't have to worry about if your money is going to be lost, even though I have no doubt in my mind that football is going to be fine. You might have some more injuries, like the one league I was in. They did 3 IR spots, and they are COVID spots only, which is interesting. So there are only 3 COVID IR spots, which is very interesting. That was something different for me. Andre says the nation needs football now. Listen, man, absolutely, 100%. If this nation needs anything right now, it's definitely a dose of the NFL and a dose of fantasy football, for real. But right off the bat, I had a lot of different questions. First thing, John, let's talk about the biggest news. Obviously, last cuts are, have already happened. And Adrian Peterson signs Detroit Lions, a team I didn't even think that was going to be looking at a running back, especially Adrian Peterson. But I was really high. We did this show. We talked about divisions, and we were talking about DeAndre Swift being a really good guy out of the backfield. I know Kerryon Johnson is still there. I mean, does this just say stay away from the entire Detroit running back system as a whole when we talk about fantasy? Because that's kind of what it says to me.
No. I mean, truthfully, I don't know why they did this signing. Like, just in general. You draft a rookie running back who is so explosive. You have Kerryon Johnson, who he was okay. I mean, in all reality, he was okay. But he can't stay healthy. he was going to be the next common thing. Like he puts up a couple weeks of good stats. Then you bring in AP at age 35. He's 35, I believe. But
tight end Jerome Cunningham. Peterson bounces it outside, turns it into a good gain. And that's what Bill Callahan wants to his own. Ale Henches.
That's the thing. I mean, if you look at AP right now, if you look at him right now, I mean, here's the thing: he can still play, and this is the one thing I've been saying the whole time. I mean, he still can play, and you know, you see, he can still do the cuts, he can still take it off outside, right? So when you talk about this, you know, this isn't a bad signing for Detroit, but when it comes to fantasy football, I mean, if you think he's going to be a horse, I mean, you're sadly mistaken. I mean, I think, John, you can agree that that's not going to happen, right? I mean, he's not fantasy relevant.
What's his role going to be? No, he is not fantasy relevant. What is his role going to be? You already got two guys. You got the guy that you're drafting that, you know what I mean? This is to be the guy, or at least an explosive, I mean, better than Tariq Cohen type of guy. All right. You can't even say that Kerryon Johnson's a plotter, but he's not like some stiff. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know what the signal is bringing in a 35-year-old running back into this team.
Andre thinks he's going to be a good pick for short yardage TDs and explosive plays at least one a game. I mean, listen, I honestly could see that. I mean, and you see that video, he still has the giddy up. You know, is he going to last for 20 carries? No, absolutely not. But like Andre's saying, I mean, when you look at the Detroit game, you know, they're going to throw the ball a lot with Stafford, obviously. But, you know, Patricia's going to want to run the rock, and he really hasn't had a steady runner in a long time. So maybe he's thinking, let me bring this guy in, right? Short yardage, obviously, right? Andre said short yardage TDs. I think that is the reality. But depending on what kind of league you're in, right? We've always thought it's all about the league that you're in. What kind of league are you in? You know, obviously, you know, if you're sitting in the last couple rounds and AP sitting out there, you throw him on your bench. Sure, why not? I mean, absolutely. But I think if you're expecting big time numbers out of Adrian Peterson, I think you're sound. But I know you shake your head, John. I hear you. But some people, they think lightning in a bottle happens, and all of a sudden now he's going to have 1,000 yards, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, lightning in a bottle. That's DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift's a lightning in the bottle.
Well, you know what? What this could say also is DeAndre Swift did hurt his leg in preseason. You know, so I think maybe that injury is a little more severe than maybe we're thinking, and maybe that's why, you know, you add the veteran for a little while. And he also helps guys like Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift, because that's the intangibles we'll think about, right? Grabbing the late rounds, absolutely. But let's flip gears and talk about a really explosive running back in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is flying up draft boards. I mean, absolutely flying up draft boards. And I know we've talked about him on the show before. And listen, rookie running backs can produce. I mean, this goes as back as LaDainian Tomlinson. They can produce in big numbers in their rookie year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire went from like third the second round running back to like top 5 in some drafts, all because of what, you know, of the cut of the opt out, right? All because of the Damian Williams opt out. So, you know, what I want to ask you, John, is it too high? Are people overreacting? Because what I will say is Louis Riddick, who is a very, very highly credentialed ESPN NFL reporter who was a former GM and scout, took him as his number 5 pick in a fantasy draft. And it like basically exploded all over social media because it's like, here's CEH. Is he the real deal? John, is he worthy of that top 5 selection?
I can't go with a rookie top 5. No, sorry. You haven't even had an NFL snap, and you're going to go top 5 in NFL in a fantasy draft now. Look, even 8 is like killing me hard. Like I may go 8, but look, I'm looking at this guy's not going to get 250 carries. I mean, listen, if Damian Williams didn't opt out, he's a second or third round pick. Because Damian Williams is starting like week one for the most part. It's not very different than Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is going to be the starting running back at the end of in the second half of the season. But his fumbling problem and Mack, what he produced last year, supposedly working on the catching skills. But like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he inherited this job from nobody. You know what I mean? McCoy's gone. Not that he really did anything. He didn't even dress for the Super Bowl. But Damian Williams opts out. Like, I mean, there's Darrell Williams sitting around there. I mean, this position is handed to him. And I understand he's explosive. I'm sorry, like number 5 overall, I cannot draft a guy that has never taken an NFL snap. I can't do it.
Here's the thing. I just look at this team and I look at the makeup of everything. And I just think that, man, my allergies are killing me. I apologize. But I just think that when you look at, obviously, the coaching staff, you look at Andy Reid, and you look at historically what Andy has done with rookie running backs, he has actually held them back, right? You look at LaShawn McCoy, you look at Brian Westbrook. These guys, he has held them back in week one. But here's the deal. This is a different style of Andy Reid to me. And if this kid is that talented in this kind of offense, I think he trips to 1,000 yards, to be honest with you. I really do. And if I've never seen guys like a LaDainian Tomlinson be able to have tremendous rookie years, Edgerrin James, guys who have done it and proved that you can do it even as a rookie, I really think that he can catch the ball. He can get to the outside. And again, this is all predicated, John, we talk about this all the time. Still, one thing gets you off the field as a rookie. If you can't hold on to the ball, and you can't pick up a blitz. So you have the NFL's most prestigious player back there in Patrick Mahomes. I understand he's mobile, but if you're going to miss a blitz pickup and you're going to miss assignments, you're not going to be on the field. We all know that. So that's a chance that you're going to take. But if he can work all that out, okay, he has the ability. I do feel that he has the ability to be a top 5 guy. He really does.
He absolutely has the ability. The question is how many carries. Yeah, he's going to catch 50-plus balls. He's going to catch 500-plus yards receiving. It's going to come down to the touchdowns. I mean, in all reality, and how many carries he gets. And, yes, he can be, but I am not putting – dude, the last thing you want to do in a fantasy football draft is a lottery ticket in the first round. Your first round, dude, the one thing you want to do with your first-round pick is not make a mistake. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm not going to take Austin Eckler banking on with Tyrod Taylor coming under center, Melvin Gordon coming, leaving the team, and then you're going to rely on his receiving capabilities that he's going to repeat something that he did as never really a prize prospect. That's what you're going to choose in your first round pick. Look, I've done it in one of my drafts because I chose to go Devontae Adams and got stuck with Eckler. Mistake. I would go back in time and make another choice in the first round. I thought I was playing the guys that were left good, and I got shafted. I've said I'm the 5th pick, and there's 4 guys that I want. As long as all 4 of them don't go, well, all 4 of them went, and I got shafted. But I'm saying, look, there's guys that you're just not crazy about. I'm not crazy about Eckler. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, look, yes, he can be a top 5, but I'm not paying for him to be a top 5 when he might be a top 14.
Now, listen, and Rick checks in, says Kareem Hunt fumbled his first handoff, left him in there. He's right. He did. I listen, I completely agree. And that's why I'm saying this is kind of a new Andy Reid, right? Where this is a newly, listen, Andy Reid made a lot of interesting decisions here in Philadelphia. He went to Kansas City and he got shiny new toys, right? Number 1 being in Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid wins a ring. Much deserved. I will back Andy Reid up any day of the week. I'm not going to get an argument with anybody about Andy Reid. But at the end of the day, he has changed his philosophy. So, Rick, you are right. He changed his philosophy in the sense that that fumble would have got him handcuffed, but no, he did leave him in there, right? Unfortunately, Kareem Hunt got himself knocked out of the league. That was his problem. But at the end of the day, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is an explosive offense. He's in the right situation. And let's face it, who else is behind him that's really, really going to bang him out for carries? Nobody we didn't even speak of, honestly. And that's the problem. They didn't go out. They didn't bring in Leonard Fournette. They didn't go out. They didn't, they let LaShawn McCoy go. So this is CEH's team, win or lose, and they're going to live or die with CEH. Now, you mentioned Austin Eckler. That brings me to Keenan Allen. And the reason why we're going to talk about Keenan Allen, right, is because you mentioned the name Tyrod Taylor. And, here's the thing with Keenan Allen. He was a beloved receiver by the old man Rivers. Absolutely. But here's a problem. Old man Rivers isn't there anymore. We don't know what Tyrod Taylor is going to be. We don't know if Tyrod Taylor is not going to be there and Justin Herbert is going to be in there. So this is such a dicey situation, but you have a Pro Bowl caliber receiver in Keenan Allen, who I think, from what I've seen, I did one draft so far, he was slipping a lot. And I think it's because people are concerned about the production based on who is under center. John, Keenan Allen, does he slip because of Tyrod Taylor?
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't even call it slip. I would call it fall. I mean, you mentioned like Tyrod Taylor. Yes, we do know what Tyrod Taylor is. He's not a good NFL quarterback. All right, you look at what Rivers and the connection he had with Allen. I was always a big Allen fan when he had Rivers throwing to him. I know what Tyrod Taylor is. Think about his days in Buffalo. Think about, and I'm sorry, fresh in my mind as a Steeler guy, watching Tyrod Taylor play week 1 and beat the Steelers with his scrambling ability, can't pass for squat, but pulls out a win, and then Baker Mayfield comes in like 2 weeks later and goes on his rookie run. But no, we know what Tyrod Taylor is. He's not a good NFL quarterback. He's a scrambler, and he can make plays. But he's like 3-4 years older than when he was able to do that. So I don't know. I don't trust Keenan Allen. I'm actually a Keenan Allen fan. No, he is going to be the biggest overpay. I don't even want him as my number 3. I will take him as my number 4. I don't feel comfortable with him as my number 3 because that offense, I mean, there's a lot of change. You got no Melvin Gordon. I'm not saying that he was like the savior or anything, but it's still a piece. Like, dude, you can't count on Eckler necessarily. You got Justin Jackson, who might not even be able to beat out Kelly for the backup job. You got Tyrod Taylor in there, Hunter Henry. Okay. I'm more confident with Hunter Henry, like the Charles Clay guy.
Yes.
When Taylor was in Buffalo, than Keenan Allen, because he didn't have a receiver in Buffalo. Like, this guy is not a guy that's going to be looking at his receivers, especially possession receivers. How many completions is Tyrod Taylor going to get a week? And I'm sorry, a rookie quarterback, like we just, we mentioned, dude, I'm not trusting Herbert.
Well, that's the problem, and Andre second and Taylor run first, pass second, absolutely. And Allen will get some broken plays. You're right. We all know that, but wildly inconsistent, which is why I feel like you dropped. Now, talking about inconsistencies, I have to bring up Gronk, and I have to bring up Rob Gronkowski because I have to listen. I was in a league, and it was a keeper league. And I had nobody to keep, man. We only could keep 6th or 7th round picks, and I kept Gronk because there was nobody else on my roster worth keeping after the 6th round. Now, do I think that's going to be a great pick? Who knows? But what I want to know is, Rob Gronkowski was brought to Tampa Bay for a reason, obviously, because he is the safety valve for Tom Brady. Obviously, to me, the reason why he is here, or I should say in Tampa, is to say, you know what, Tom, at the end of the day, if you're not sure what's going on, you're just going to give it to Gronk, as long as Gronk can stay healthy. Now, from a fantasy perspective, as a tight end, are we going to see the 1,000 yards, 10. No, we're not going to. We know we're not going to see that. But for a guy that's probably going late in Rob Gronkowski, going to that defense, I mean, that offense, I'm telling you, man, it is going to be like the greatest show on turf all over again. From the receivers to the running back, the quarterback to the tight ends, there is a lot of weaponry right there. A lot. And Bruce Arians is probably giddy. Okay? But I really think, again, that Rob Gronkowski is going to produce at a very high level when we talk about red zone opportunities. He's not going to be going 50 to the end zone, but I'm telling you, I think Rob Gronkowski gets multiple 2-touchdown games. He might only get 15 snaps, but I think he's going to get multiple double-digit touchdown games. I really feel he is. I think that's how explosive this offense is going to be. What do you think about Gronk?
No. I mean, he is not going to be the 1,000-yard Gronk, period.
Right. Look, we know that.
Yes, he will get some looks in the red zone. He'll get his 5 touchdowns. He's not going to play every snap.
Nope.
Look, he could feel great because he took a year off. How many times, dude, how's he going to feel through week 3? You know what I mean? When he actually takes the hits and actually goes through a few weeks of training camp and practice. Look, yeah, he has the potential to be a top 5 tight end. He also has the potential to be a 20-plus ranked tight end.
Well, here's the thing, though, John. Let me throw this at you because this is what I think of in my mind. And obviously, Tom Brady wasn't here, but Cameron Brate was a hell of a red zone target. Cameron Brate always had his games. So, in my opinion, that's where Gronk is now. I think Gronk becomes that Brate option. And Andre checks that. Listen, this is good. 788 yards, 12 touchdowns. Screenshot this and thank me later. John, listen, I think that is very doable right there. I do. I think, the 12 touchdowns is high. It's high. But Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate, Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, Leonard Fournette, LaShawn McCoy. Who the hell are you covering on this team? Like, Gronk is going to be open. He's going to be open. And the only person that's going to hurt Gronk is Gronk. If Gronk can't stay healthy, there's no way he does. If we say, ready for this? Take Andre's number. If we say over and under 800 yards receiving this year, you going over and under?
Under.
Say, I'm going to go over. I think
he won't be on the field enough.
What's that?
He won't be on the field enough.
Well, here's the thing. He may not be at the beginning, but if he tends to be productive, right? If he tends to be productive and shows he can play, I think he could go over. I do. I really do.
I'll dig the touchdown numbers, but I am not digging the volume that he used to get.
Nick says he thinks it's going to be Tom's best year. That's going to be tough. Listen,
his best year was 50 touchdowns. This dude ain't getting no 50 touchdowns this year.
He's going to be good, but I don't know his best year. Here's a good one about Brady. Rick checking in. Do you keep Brady in the 10th round in the keeper? I would say.
Because I was talking to him. That's my dilemma right now. You only draft you only have 14 spots. I am not a Brady guy per se, and there's a big range of quarterbacks there. So do I waste a 10th round pick?
Yes.
Because I'm not taking a backup quarterback.
I'm taking Brady with a 10th. Yes. I know, John, you have to look at that offense, man. You have to look at that offense.
You have to look at a 43-year-old quarterback that has not really put up fantasy stats over the past 2-3 years. I don't care why. I don't know why. Maybe it's his arthritic joints. Maybe it's Giselle. I don't know. The bottom line is
Giselle would make him play better.
He has not done it, and I'm sorry. Like I do. It's not my guy. That's all it is. I'm not saying that it's not value. I'm not saying that it might not be the right move. I'm taking over a team, and that's all that I have left is Tom Brady in the 10th or keep nobody. I'm almost keeping nobody because I'd rather maybe get I'd rather take my chance on getting the guy that I like better in the 10th than keep Brady. I'm just if he flounders, if the Bucks don't have to pass like crazy because Winston ain't throwing picks at the first like 3 possessions of a game, what if they play ball control? Like, I mean, how much? What happens if they get up by 14 points? You think Brady at 43 slinging it 60 yards down the field? Especially when they go and bring in Fournette. Like, I'm just saying there's a lot of things that, like, I don't necessarily – yes, he could absolutely do it. But, no, I don't – it's just not my guy. Can't do it.
Well, you can't just say because he's not your guy, John. I mean, come on.
No, Tony, come on. Tell me – you've told me year after year, like, I just can't draft this guy. I just can't draft this guy.
No, you're right.
Everybody has it. There's always a time and a place, but I will have that time and place. Look, if I go through the draft and I may end up in the 10th round and Tom Brady may be the only guy that's lagging and I draft him, but I would draft him like it's just a different thing when you're putting a keeper tag on him. Like I will draft him in the 10th if that's the way the draft goes, but I don't like locking that in. Like I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, I know. First of all, about your rebuttal here. How the hell can Giselle be a problem? If anything, Giselle's going to help him. You said arthritic joints. I think she's going to help those joints, by the way. I don't think Giselle.
Yeah, when I roll out of bed Sunday mornings, I'm really going to be focused on football.
Well, hey, listen, Giselle's getting up there too. Just saying. But I'm just saying. But Andre checks in, makes a good point. And this is what I'm talking about with Gronk. Most defensive coordinators are going to shape the defense to cover the other positions. Gronk's going to have a mismatch all the time, especially in the red zone. And again, I just think if he could stay healthy, that is it. He just has to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, man, sky's the limit for Gronk this year in Tampa Bay. Remember, Antonio Gates was still putting up Pro Bowl numbers, 35 plus years of age. Remember that. So Tony Gonzalez was still putting up. Right? He still was. And again, I know Gronk has been injured, and I know he has a long list of injuries that have keeping him out of games. I get that. But I'm just saying it's very possible.
No, it's absolutely possible. The only thing that I'm gonna say with Gonzalez and Gates that is different than Gronk. And yes, Gronk, he will be a red zone threat. There's no question. 8 touchdowns. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I am not questioning 8 touchdowns. What I'm questioning is he going to have over 45 receptions? He's going to be in there at the red zone. He's going to get his catches when he's in the ball game. My question is the volume going to be enough? Because if it's going to be a 3 catch for 30 yards and a touchdown every other week, you're going to be disappointed half your weeks.
No, you're right. I'll give you that. That's a good point.
And that's what it ultimately comes down to. 16 times 3 catches. And I didn't do the math officially, but I know 8 touchdowns is a touchdown every other week. And when he has a touchdown, it's going to be great. And when he doesn't, I really don't think he's going to put up 5 for 80 like he was used to. I don't think he's going to be breaking the 100-yard barrier. Think about all those long catches he used to get. You know what I mean? Going down the seam. Do you really see Gronk going down the seam nowadays?
No.
With O.J. Howard and Brate? Like, I'm sorry. I just don't see it. So, look, I'll take Gronk as my starter, but, I mean, and yes, he could be top 5. If he puts up 10 touchdowns, yeah, that could get you in the top 5. I ain't banking on it. I ain't hating on your keeper either, the way,
No, listen, like I said, that's all I could do, but
yeah.
I mean, I took what I could, whatever the board gave me, but, you talked about disappointment. That's a good word because I want to ask you about the contract situations. You deal with Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. Now, I just did a draft 2 nights ago. I had the number 8 pick in a 12-man league, and I took Dalvin Cook at number 8. Now, right, exactly, right?
You are kidding?
Yes. Ready? How's this? So this is how my draft went in the first 5 rounds. This is what I come out with. John, you can tell me what you think. Okay, I start off with Dalvin Cook. I come back and I grab Josh Jacobs. So right off the bat, I'm Josh Jacobs, Dalvin Cook. Then I come in the third round. I take Juju. Then in the fourth round, I come back and take Cooper Kupp. Then in the fifth round, I take Deshaun Watson. So I'm starting right there. My lineup is Deshaun Watson, Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, Cooper Kupp, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Rob Gronkowski. Now, what I'm saying is, I think I like it. I love that I have Cook and Jacobs, two guys. Right. Look, everybody's Andre. Everybody's asking the same thing. How's Cook? No, number 8 overall, not the 8th, but number 8 overall, obviously. But
no,
my thing is,
how is he there at 8? Who goes?
Yeah,
by?
how he's there at 8 is beyond me. I mean, he's my number 2 guy, in my opinion. But will the contract situations, are they enough to hold you back from drafting these guys? Is it enough to weigh on your mind? Because a lot of people got burnt by Le'Veon Bell. A lot of people got burnt by, Melvin Gordon, right? They got burnt by these situations. So, is it enough to hold you back? For me, no. For me, it's not. For me, I'm saying, you know what? I'm going all in. They'll figure it out. Something happened. It is what it is, and I live or die with it, but I'm not worried about it. How about you? Do you put a lot of stock into it?
Dude, these contract situations that we're talking about in this year do not compare to the Melvin Gordon, the Le'Veon Bell, and those contract negotiations. Like, to me, and the Zeke. Like, dude, it is not even, to me, in the same ballpark. Those things were going on for weeks, if not months. Big time. Resetting, the running back, what the contracts are for running backs. And they were kind of reset, and we kind of see how they went with Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell. So there's only so much leverage Cook has, but to me, it hasn't been as deep as it was with those other guys in terms of, so no, contract situation for Cook or Kamara is not swaying me in the same way that it did when we were talking about Zeke and Gordon, where it's a serious concern.
No, that's a good point. And I mean, obviously the biggest thing was, with the Kamara camp coming out that, they walked away from the table. They were extremely frustrated. Did he ask for a trade? Who knows? Dalvin Cook's playing on the last year of a rookie deal at $1.4 million. I'm sure they're looking at the Joe Mixon contract and they're saying to themselves, listen, here's a guy just got a 4-year guarantee, 4-year extension with guaranteed money, right? So they're looking at that situation. They're, obviously everybody's going to look at what David Johnson, Todd Gurley got in a negative way too when we talk about the running back, the running back age, the lifespan of a running back. My opinion is, I still go all in. I think you're absolutely right. The Le'Veon Bell situation was completely different from anything. Le'Veon Bell wanted to be paid like a receiver and a running back. Like you said, everybody forgets that. He wanted to set the market. He wanted to be exactly what's going on with the Phillies with JT. JT's agent wants to make him a top 5 paid player, not catcher, player, because of the DH rule and because of his ability to play first base. Le'Veon Bell was doing the same thing. Dalvin Cook's agent isn't seeking that, and neither is Alvin Kamara. They just want their market value up, and I don't blame them. Listen, we all know the lifespan of an average NFL running back is that it used to be 5 years. Now it's like 3 or 4. I mean, seriously, it really isn't. It's a shame, and they're one injury away from getting kicked off the field. So I don't mind what they're doing. I completely agree with it. Dalvin Cook, for my money, I still say he is my number 2 fantasy running back. I still think I draft him as my number 2 guy. It's Christian McCaffrey, and then it's Dalvin Cook for me. And the reason why, a lot of people, how could it not be Kamara? Number 1, Kamara has been widely inconsistent. I don't know exactly what he's going to be. I can't just hope that Sean Payton wakes up and all of a sudden wants to throw the ball 100 times again. Saquon Barkley. Listen, this is a brand new offensive system. Saquon is very talented. I 100% agree. But this is a new coach, a new coordinator, a second-year quarterback. I just don't know if Saquon is going to put up the numbers that everybody thinks he is this year. And then you look at Zeke. everybody loves Zeke. I get it. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Dallas. And I'm going to say this again. Mike McCarthy, the highest his offense has ever finished when we talk about rushing yards is 26th. 26th. And I understand he's had Aaron Rodgers, but let's not mistake that Dak Prescott had 4,900 yards passing last year. So he is going to throw the ball a lot. So for me, Dalvin Cook is the number 2 guy. John, I know you're going to disagree with me, right?
He's not number 2. He's not number 2. I mean, I would flirt with him at 4 over Kamara or Kamara, however you choose.
So who's your number 2?
Saquon.
See, and I love Saquon, but I just have a gut this year, man. There's just too much going on out there in New York.
It's fair, but I still ain't got the balls to do it.
Listen, Dalvin Cook faces the 5th best running back in fantasy and missed 2 games last year. 2 games. So I'm just saying, if he's healthy for those 2 games, he finishes as number 2, 26 yards behind Christian McCaffrey. Well, just throw it out there.
That's
a big number. People don't look at. People ain't looking at that.
If we prorate stats, dude, Deshaun Jackson stats from last year, dude, that would prorate.
Oh, stop. I'm doing 2 games now.
I'm just saying.
I'm doing 2 games, John. Relax. But talk about prorating stats. 2 guys play on the same team. 2 guys get a bunch of targets. 2 guys very productive last year. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. What is the better guy to own? Or is it okay to own both of them? Obviously not on the same team. You don't want that. But what I mean is, are you okay with both of these guys as top-notch fantasy performers? Because I think they're both going to put up very, very good numbers, especially Russell Wilson specifically has asked to throw the ball even more this year in the Seattle offense to head coach Pete Carroll. So who do you got, DK or Lockett? Who is the more productive wide receiver?
I have Lockett ranked higher, but I believe you get a better value for Metcalf a couple spots lower. And I mean, look, Russell Wilson's a great quarterback, but at the same time, they do from time to time get into that I'm going to run the ball mentality. And as long as Chris Carson isn't fumbling the ball, I mean, we've seen Russell Wilson Russell Wilson will put up the stats. He'll somehow get 50 yards rushing. He'll throw 2 touchdowns, maybe sometimes 225. You know what I mean? Will Dissly comes out with a game like
Dissly.
Russell Wilson always looks like a gem, but it goes week to week. DK, Lockett, none of the above. And what's going to happen? I mean, look, I have a better feel for DK Metcalf. He's going a couple spots lower than Lockett. I kind of prefer DK Metcalf. That's just me. But I'm always skeptical of the passing offense of the Seattle Seahawks because when you got 2 receivers and it's a run-heavy offense, and, dude, Wilson's not going to be thrown for 5,000 yards. He's not going to be thrown for 4,800 yards. So it's like there's only so much to go around. I'm more of a DK Metcalf guy, but I wouldn't be opposed to either of them. Love him as my number 3. I'm not really opposed to him as my number 2, but I'm not crazy about it either.
So Andre Texan says Lockett because he'll give me consistency game after game. Now, Tyler Lockett was very consistent last year. He was. And, I just think that DK Metcalf is going to take that next step. I really do. I think, I've seen enough from him last year. I think he's so powerful and he's so strong. And I think that's exactly what, that Seattle offense has missed for such a long time. Doug Baldwin was a really good receiver, but he wasn't as physical as a guy like DK Metcalf. So it's just something that they've needed. And it's something that they got. So it'll be interesting. One thing is for sure, though, I think both of these guys will obviously is going to be a solid addition to your team, just depending on where you draft them. Now Andre's talking about Saquon. Go back to is surefire pick because they will be creating new identity in New York, and it will start with Barkley. I would go with Saquon without hesitation this year. Now that I could see, Joe Judge creates a new identity. Wants to run a rock with Saquon, get Daniel Jones a little more consistent with the ball. get them used to the offense. I can dig that, but one thing I will say is again, and I've been saying this a lot, okay, and I'll say it again. Just remember, Gary Kubiak is the offensive coordinator of Minnesota. That's all I'm going to say. There's certain coordinators and head coaches that create fantasy stardom when it comes to the running back position. And last year, I talked about North Turner being in Carolina with Christian McCaffrey and North Turner. What happened to Christian McCaffrey? Now, obviously, I know Christian McCaffrey's role was always going to be that big and expand, but North Turner is one of the reasons. Guys in the past, like a Mike Martz, who made fantasy wide receivers so relevant, almost created the PPR game because of Mike Martz. But Gary Kubiak, his long list of fantasy success within the running back position with guys like Mike Anderson and guys like Arian Foster and Steve Slayton, Rolandis Gary. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So don't think that this offense, especially with Kirk Cousins, who threw the least amount of attempts ever in his career last year, ever. So that just goes to show you they want to keep his attempts down. And the other thing about Dalvin Cook is he really doesn't have any competition for carries. That's one thing for sure. Alexander Madison is not going to compete for carries. He's only there as a handcuff in case Dalvin gets hurt. So, John, I'm looking at the sign in the back. We all know this is Pittsburgh, John. We all know your Steelers pride. Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, I was very hesitant when I drafted him in the third round. He was there, and there was a couple other guys there, but I just had this feeling that even with Ben at 38 years old, with a healthy Ben, with the dreck that they had to play with last year, with the injuries that Juju had last, he's healthy, he's in camp, right? He looks good. Can he get back to that 90-catch Juju Smith? Or is Antonio Brown going to be the ultimate key to what was the success of 1 year of Juju Smith-Schuster? What do you think?
I think there's an in-between. I don't know that Juju's going to be a 90-catch receiver, but he could get 85. He could get 1,100 yards, get 6 and 7 touchdowns, which puts him in the top 10. So, is he going to be a 100-catch monster? I don't think he's going to be, because he doesn't need to be, because there's enough receiving weapons out there. Roethlisberger is old enough, mature enough. He goes through his checkdowns. He's going to hit the guy that's open. Look, he's not going to force the ball to Juju if he sees James Washington as the number 3 receiver streaking down and got his guy beat. He's not going to force it to him if he sees Eric Ebron in the middle open. So, I mean, look, I think Juju's going to have a top 12 season. I don't want to count on him as my number 1, but he could put up, and I think he will put up top 12 stats. Does he get above the 90 catch mark? That might be pushing it, but I still see him with, 85 or 1,100 yards and at least 6 touchdowns.
Listen, if he gives me 85, honestly, I have no problem whatsoever. None. I think that, no matter what, I think that's a good year. When we're talking about Juju, because everybody expects him to falter because there's no Antonio Brown. Everybody expect that, and he didn't really get that chance, in my opinion, because he played with trash and he got injured. So he really didn't get the opportunity to show what he could under a real quarterback like Big Ben. So, I'm hedging a bet that he will be okay. And I like what you did say, though, John. I think there is an in-between. I really do. I think there's an in-between where, he may not get 90 catches, but I don't think he's going to get 75 either. So I still think he's going to be productive enough to be your guy. He's just not going to be one of those top 7 or top 8 tier guys as well. Now, the other scenario that came out, which I was absolutely shocked by, was Mitchell Trubisky being named the starter in Chicago, right? And again, we all know I'm not a Nick Foles guy. Anybody that follows me knows I am not a Nick Foles guy. But Nick Foles deserves to start over Mitch. I'm sorry. I mean, isn't the reason why you brought Nick Foles in because the problem was Mitch wasn't getting it done, and now you're going to go back to Mitch. I mean, this has, to me, major fantasy ramifications because I thoroughly expected Nick Foles to have this job and to excel a guy like Allen Robinson up in that top 7 wide receiver mark. I thought a guy like Anthony Miller would break out as a third-year wide receiver because Nick Foles has the 6th highest rate targets to slots in the last 5 years. I thought that was what was going to happen, but again, it's Mitchell Trubisky. John, why the hell was it Mitch? Am I missing something here?
Why do you sign Foles, and then you end up with the same inept offense that you had last year? Like, by having Trubisky can't do it. He just can't do it. Like, I don't know how long you're gonna give a leash, and then you bring this guy in. Like, I don't understand how you anoint him as your starting quarterback. You cannot tell me you've seen enough of him. How does he win it out? And if he does win it out, then why did you sign Foles? Like, seriously, if you're going to bring Foles in, you're bringing him in because you know he's obviously better than the guy you got.
Yes.
And if he's not, then why'd you bring him in? So, I'm dumbfounded by it.
It's quite. I mean, Andre, right? That's a joke. In all caps, that is a joke. Chicago is a dumpster fire, man. And this is all in Nagy. I mean, Nagy looked lost last year. He had a really good first year. Looked like he brought that offensive swag over to Chicago, and now he just looks like nothing. He looks lost. He looks confused, and this just shows. I mean, you don't listen. As much as I don't like Nick Foles as everybody else, this guy's still a Super Bowl MVP. You still went through a year and a half with Mitchell Trubisky, who showed that he is widely inconsistent and not ready to take that next step in a abbreviated offseason in a COVID year, like you said, John. What the hell showed you that Mitch Trubisky was that turned the page,
turned
the chapter,
turned the corner,
right? I mean, come on.
Like, I mean, not to tangent, but like that was a landing spot that I thought AP could be.
Yes.
Like, dude, Montgomery is like the running back version of Trubisky. I mean, in all reality, you know what I mean? They drafted him. They wanted him to be the guy. Like, he kind of looked like he might be the guy. He ain't the guy, and you're sitting there. Then dude, bring it. Would you rather have Trubisky and Montgomery or Foles and AP?
Well, exactly. I'd rather have Foles and AP.
Right.
I would. I'd rather have Foles and AP.
I think I'm with you.
I think we've seen enough from the Chicago system right now. We did. And hey, John, our boy Rick checks in, and this is another name. Okay, this goes back to the Juju talk. Deontay Johnson is still grabbing it. A lot of people are on Deontay Johnson. I remember Michelle Magic was on Deontay Johnson from Ball Blast Football. When we had her on the show, she loved Deontay Johnson. Is Deontay Johnson, is he that sleeper, man? Is he that guy? Is he the number 2? Is he ahead of Washington? Is he ahead of Chase Claypool?
Yes, and yes. But, it comes down to you guys' draft position, like where it was in mid-July versus end of July versus beginning of August. Like, it changes. Cam Akers was undervalued going into drafts, the running back out of the, for the Rams. He was undervalued. He was going in the 7th, 8th round. Now, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, now he's creeping up into the 5th round. Now he's overvalued. So it's a timing thing, you know what I mean, as to how good these guys are. Deontay Johnson got so much love early in the prognosticators time frame. He was moving up. He's moving, I don't know, 25 overall, which is probably too aggressive. And then you got to back off of it. Look, Ben Roethlisberger has never had a connection with Deontay Johnson.
Exactly.
He played 2 games and 1.5 games, I would say. Look, Deontay Johnson, he comes out of a small school. Truthfully, he has a very similar skill set to an Antonio Brown. He's returning punts this year, came out of a small school. He runs a lot of great routes. He got good hands. He can be the guy, but it's going to be Ben's decision whether he is or isn't. And who knows where Ben's going to go. But I would say his number one comfort level is going to be Juju.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think you're fooling yourself if you don't think it's going to be Juju. I mean, it 100% is going to be Juju as long as Juju can stay healthy.
I love Deontay in the 8th, not in the 5th.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it's a good point. It all depends on where you're drafting them, right? I mean,
if you're talking about 10 plus rounds,
at the end of the day. So let's look at a couple more receivers while we're on this situation, or on this tier board here, and let's think about play a little game of either or. You tell me, I'm going to give you two guys, and you tell me basically who you think puts up the better numbers, because there are two guys really intrigue me. That's Kenny Galladay and Adam Thielen. I think they both have the opportunity to have enormous seasons. I really feel that way. I think Galladay with the connection with Stafford. I think Thielen being the only guy, no more Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to get the lion's share of the touches, obviously, even though Dalvin Cook's going to be heavily involved in the running game. If you had to pick Galladay or Thielen, who puts up the better fantasy numbers this year?
Galladay.
You think Galladay, no doubt.
And no doubt. No doubt, but I will tell you, Thielen is slipping, and I will take him.
He is. Why do you feel? Why do you think he's slipping?
Because he didn't have the greatest year last year. Look, you look at him and Diggs, like for a couple years, were like just kind of. They were both decent. Cousins is chucking it up. They're both decent. Then they go to the run game. Thielen was the reception guy. But then last year, Thielen just started out so slow. Think about where Thielen was drafted last year. He was getting drafted so high because he was coming off a 100-plus catch season or something.
Back to back.
Right, and Diggs was kind of the second guy. Well, then all of a sudden last year, Thielen starts out slow. Diggs is a man. But I'm sorry, I'm going Galladay. Galladay is the real deal. I'm trusting him more than you mentioned it. The Vikings offense, it's a run-first offense. All right?
Yep.
And yes, I do believe that Thielen is the guy, and I do believe he's going to get his. But if you're giving me that or Galladay with Stafford and chucking it up, and now they brought the plotter of AP on board, oh goody. It's going to be real exciting offense. But no, I'm going with Galladay in that offense. Stafford is a thrower. He reminds me of like Jeff George back in the day.
Wow. Jeff George. You're right. I'll tell you what, Jeff George put up some major numbers, man.
Major numbers. He was never never really a great NFL quarterback.
No.
He put up some fantasy numbers, man.
He did where Atlanta, Indianapolis, he played Washington, right? He was all over, man. Unbelievable.
Was he Oakland for a year?
I think he might have been.
I don't know if he was.
He might have been. I think he might have been.
But I know Atlanta and Indy, yes.
So here's another interesting dilemma here. I shouldn't say dilemma. Another interesting comparison, either or. DJ Chark, who people are predicting to just go through the roof this year, or Scary Terry McLaurin for Washington. They're two guys that have a ton of potential, two guys who had really good years last year, and two guys who are going to deal with kind of a quarterback change. I mean, I know Gardner Minshew was thrown to DJ Chark, but, they were in and out with Nick Foles and wasn't. So now this is a full year of Gardner Minshew, and it's a full year of Dwayne Haskins out there with Terry McLaurin. Who has a better fantasy season?
Chark.
I like Chark.
I don't know that he's going to be as big as everybody thinks. Look, I'm saying there's a lot.
I'm laughing at Andre. He said Jeff George reference. I got to get John. Now I got to get John a Steelers clock because I refer to the clock. It looks like a clock to me, but it's just a sign. Like you think it's a clock.
Yeah, it's not a clock, man. It's not a clock.
420.
DJ. No, look, DJ Chark. Like I think he has there's players that are great receivers, and if you're not in the right situation, you could be the best receiver in the NFL, but you might not put up the best stats. Okay? You look at like the guys, you look at longevity and situation. Those are the two biggest factors in terms of putting up career stats. So look, if Chark has Peyton Manning thrown to him, if he has, he has somebody other than Gardner Minshew,
Yes,
or Blake Bortles or Nick Foles, and we just talked up Nick Foles. Now I'm going to talk down Nick Foles. But I'm saying, if you have a quarterback this guy could be a top 10 receiver in the NFL. But right now he's on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, not the Jaguars, the Jaguars. And dude, they are cleaning house. It makes me sick. Like, think about the guys that got rid of on defense. Like, they are getting rid of everybody.
It started with Boye a couple years ago, right? And then they get rid of Ramsey. They let Malik Jackson go, right? Obviously Leonard Fournette, obviously the most recent one, right? So so many different changes. You're right. I mean,
I heard one of the analysts saying that they might go 0 for 16.
They could.
Now, on that same note, what does that mean for Chark? That means they're playing from behind every game.
True.
Every game. They got to throw the ball. They're not going to run the ball if they're down 21 points. I don't know. I mean, I like him. I'm sorry, I like him more than Scary Terry. I think McLaurin's, he's a great receiver. Or I should let me premise great. He's a good receiver. He can be very good, but I don't trust that Washington offense. And
so here, you're right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you, but you're right. Try both of them. You can't trust either of those offenses, right? We don't know what Washington's going to be. We don't know what Jacksonville's going to be. So they both have very interesting situations. And what you said is absolutely right. I mean, how many times is Gardner Minshew going to be able to throw the ball, even though they're going to be behind? But how many times? It's Gardner Minshew. I mean, this guy was benched last year. So even though he had some good games, it's some really bad games too. So there is no veteran throwing DJ Chark the ball. And in Washington, they're rebuilding, let's face it. And even though, Scary Terry had a decent year, he also had a better quarterback than what he's going to have to throw him the ball right now. And unless Dwayne Haskins can work on his accuracy and his poise, it may be a long year in Washington. Now, moving to the running back position, this was a very intriguing one, John, because a lot of people, including myself, are in love with Miles Sanders. But there's also a lot of people who are in love with Kenyon Drake. What Kenyon Drake did over the last 8 games of last season was something historic. He put up ridiculous numbers to the point of, if he would have put up, and I know you're going to love this, John, but if you paced him out for the other 8 games, he would have been a top 5 fantasy running back. So, both situations, very intriguing. Who has the better year, Miles Sanders or Kenyon Drake?
Don't know who's going to have the better year, but I'm banking on Miles Sanders if I'm drafting a guy.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Look, Kenyon Drake. I had Kenyon Drake on my fantasy team for like 2-3 years. Granted, as my number 3-4 running back, this is the guy I think is going to break through. And I waited, and I held him on. He was on my bench, and I held him, and I held him. And then all of a sudden, he goes to Arizona when they lose All-Pro David Johnson, MVP David Johnson, All-Pro, top 3 pick David Johnson, and he comes in and he steps in and just does it with Kyler Murray as a rookie quarterback. Like, it was just like, who would have imagined that would have happened? And I'm sorry, with that on top of his walking boot, which even if he shedded it in precautionary, I'm sorry, Kenyon Drake, granted, it was Miami. It's like the Bermuda Triangle down there. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, think about it. Like, Gase Bermuda Triangle. But I don't know. I can't trust Drake. Like I was banking on him. I thought he was up and coming. I thought he was going to be that guy. Like even with Miami, and then he goes there, but I don't know. Then Chase Edmonds steps in and he blows up. You know what I mean? David Johnson had a couple games, he blows up. Is it a situation thing? I don't know, but I'm not taking Drake comfortably above Miles Sanders, who I think has a very clear path to playing time. They didn't bring in Devontae Freeman. They didn't bring in anybody. They got Boston Scott still, who was passed off from the Saints. It's like, dude, we got Deuce saying that this is my bell cow. Precautionary him sitting out. Like, this is my guy. They're going to ride him. So, and we talked about this earlier. I was he's going to get 200 carries. And then, and then somebody said 250. Well, I don't know if it was Michelle or someone we were on with.
Yeah, I think it was Michelle.
Like 250 was way high. So I bumped it up to like 225. And I got it up to 238. Then I bumped it up to 250. But I still think that the 60 catches are pretty much a lock. 60 catch. I mean, injury. Look, we can't talk about injury. Anybody could get injured. And until you get prone to it over years, you can't really bank on it. So I'm saying I see 60 catches. And if he's getting 240, 250 carries, no, I'm taking him over Drake any day.
Yeah, I'm Sanders all day, and Andre checks in. He says he's Sanders all day. He said Sanders will be part of his that has hungry running backs that want to be the focus. So competition is going to push him harder. Yeah, listen, I mean, one of the X factors that people aren't talking about is Corey Clement, and I do think Corey Clement, if healthy, can solidify that backup role, and I think that brings Boston Scott back down to number 3. That's regardless of what I think about Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders will still be the bell cow back for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think he will have if I had to hedge a bet on either or, it would definitely be Miles Sanders over Kenyon Drake. Now, you mentioned David Johnson, so this is an easy one, John. Who has a better bounce back year, Todd Gurley or David Johnson?
I'm going to go with Gurley.
Me too.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Atlanta says, I really don't care about your knee. We're going to run you, and you're going to be the guy. And if you break down, so be it.
Yes.
Like, I don't know why I feel like that's the mentality. I really do. I feel like they're like, look, you're going to play. And that could be a steal because if they're running him, look, even if he's getting the carries, dude, he's getting the carries. You're not babying him for 13 starts or 12 carries a game. I think if he's playing, I think they're playing him.
Yeah, I think Gurley is going to have a tremendous year this year. I do. I really think I think we found out basically as much as we could about the injury, about the knee. It's an arthritic problem. It's something that can be treated. And I think of any player who may have helped from this abbreviated offseason, I think it's Todd Gurley. I really is. David Johnson, he didn't have the knee injury. He just had a bunch of injuries, and then he was slow to get back.
Dude, he had a wrist injury.
Yeah, it was
his downfall was a freaking wrist injury.
Strange.
Dead serious. Week 4,
Strange.
He goes down with the wrist injury. Oh, he might be back in like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, never plays. Then he comes back and it's like he's like a turd burglar.
Yeah. The funny thing is he completely disappeared, which was really odd. It was strange. For me in Atlanta, I think Atlanta is going to be a fantasy fun offense. I do. I think they're not going to win 12 games, but they're going to win a ton of fantasy points because they're either going to be behind or they're just going to be throwing the ball so much. And with that offense with Ridley and Joe and Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, now you throw Todd Gurley into the mix. I think that offense is going to be pretty set. So for me, I think Gurley definitely has a better year.
And you're playing against Brady and Breeze. I mean, 4 games a year. I mean, you want to talk about some offensive explosion. I hope at least 50% of them are Sunday, Monday night.
Yeah. No, I hear
about
you.
it. Brady
Prime
Breeze,
time.
Brady Ryan. Yeah.
Prime time. Definitely. Absolutely. Now, what do you think about the situation right now going on in two spots? That's Denver between Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and in
You mean in
Denver.
Cleveland?
Yeah, in Cleveland with the and then in Denver
Yep.
with the three-headed running back monster out there with Lindsey Gordon and Royce Freeman. How do you? Let's start with Denver because I think that Denver is intriguing me because I've seen a bunch of drafts that are drafting Melvin Gordon as their number one guy, and I don't think you could be that comfortable drafting him as your number one guy. I still think Philip Lindsay becomes the guy. Still, in my opinion. I understand they brought Melvin Gordon here, but I think they brought Melvin Gordon here as being that guy on the outside, not the main running back. What do you think?
No, I think they brought Melvin Gordon in to be the guy. Lindsey, I think, is he's gonna take a little bit away more than what people thought earlier in the year. So I do see Lindsey eating into his workload a little bit. Gordon is a number one running back. Oh, hell no.
Right.
Like, no. I mean, I'm at that, like, yeah, I'll take him as my number two. And it's not even like I'm giddy that he's my number two. You want to know, like, a happy 1-2 combo would be like Chubb and Jacobs. Then I'm happy with my number one and my number two, not necessarily Gordon. Not that he can't be it. Lindsey, once again, situations. I mentioned situations earlier. If Gordon wasn't there, Lindsey is a good running back, but Gordon is there. I don't know how much opportunity he's going to get.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what that's going to look like out there.
In terms of Hunt and Chubb, I still see Chubb getting his 15 to 18 carries of work because I still think that they want to run an offense that is based on the ground game. So, okay, Hunt might come in for a little bit of rushing work every third series where he's a starting running back for a 3-down series. Hunt is going to line up in the slot possibly. He might line up out wide. He may do these things, but to me, it's still Chubb. I still like Chubb. Chubb will get his catches, not catches in terms of like a PPR beast. But he'll get 3 catches a week. He's not going to be like a Derrick Henry getting 0 to 1. Like he'll get 2 to 3 catches a week. And look, I just don't see Hunt taking that big of a dent. I see Chubb 1,200 yards and still being the goal line back, getting 8, 9 touchdowns. I mean, he was a beast. And even when Hunt did come back, a lot of his damage was done even though it was in the receptions, it wasn't out of the running back position. Like he was lining up wide with Chubb in the backfield. So
one thing about Chubb though, he was very inconsistent. Very inconsistent last year. And that's one thing I remember. But listen, I gotta say something here. Did we leave Rick at the tournament? Listen, Rick, do me a favor. I don't know what you were pounding today, okay? But you're out on Sanders. He's being drafted like prime Westbrook and McCoy. I don't think he's that at all. Lots of fantasy players were disappointed. I think he's more of a running back too. Now, what I will say is maybe, just maybe, okay, I'll give you this if and only if, for some reason, Doug Peterson decides to not use him in that capacity. But I'll tell you what, if Doug Peterson doesn't use him in that capacity with the running backs he has on the roster, then I must be on the same stuff, or he must be on the same stuff as you, because there's no way. Listen, I know he's bringing drafted like prime Westbrook and McCoy. Here's the thing: if you look at everything that's been leading up to this, you hear Deuce Staley talk, you look at the way the offense, like John mentioned earlier about not bringing anybody in. I know it's just a gut feeling. I always go with my gut too. So I obviously I stand with you with that. I appreciate that, but This is a prime Westbrook and LaShawn McCoy. He is, Rick, he is that good. And I'm going to tell you something that's you're going to go nuts. And it's going to make John go nuts because I always say things that John thinks I'm crazy when I say it. But I'm telling you right now, I thoroughly believe that if he is used in the way he should be used, I think he has every opportunity and will be the better running back over Saquon Barkley. That's my opinion. I think he will be better than Saquon if he's used the right way, the way we think he's going to be used. I do. I think he's going to be that good. Listen, I understand how good Saquon is. I get it. But I also see how good Miles Sanders is. And I think people forget about Miles Sanders because he played behind Saquon Barkley. I really do. I know, John, I know you're shaking your head. You think I'm crazy. It's just what I see and what I feel. Look, I even got a wow from Rick. And listen, and I'll tell you, Rick, and John may agree or not agree or disagree. I'm usually pretty good. I'll give myself an 80%, John. What do you think? 80% of the time, our audience loves watching your T-shirt right now. 80% of the time, I would say, thank God didn't rise up. But 80% of the time, I would say that I'm pretty good with my predictions.
For as outlandish as your predictions are, yes, they come true like a ridiculous amount. Yes, I will tell you that. Because I will tell you so many times, like, never, no. Somehow you get it. You get quite a few of them in there.
Yeah, listen, I just think he's that talented, man.
He is. The whole Miles Sanders thing once again comes down to the number of carries he's going to get.
Yes.
And I mean, that was the whole thing. And I told you from the get-go, I didn't see – it was all last year I kept saying, feed him, feed him, feed him. They wouldn't feed him. You're getting 10 carries, 12 carries. You're splitting it between 3-4 different guys. Like, I understand keeping guys fresh, but there is a rhythm, and there is something to be said for a rhythm when you're talking about the running game in the NFL. And rhythm means a lot. Now, can he handle the workload? I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the commitment of the coaching staff to give him the workload. So, yes, is he going to get the 250 carries?
Andre says John's been driving on that yellow belt too long, but he's made some great arguments tonight. See, John, yeah, actually, you have though. You have been on your game tonight. I'm very impressed. I am. I'm very impressed,
man. I got four drafts in 3 days. Dude. The brain it's all in here. It's all in there. Like I'm telling you.
Oh, hey, all right, ready? Before we get out of here, I'll give you my one last prediction. John's going to like this one because I did this 3 years ago. It never came to fruition, okay? But I'm telling you right now, last round of your draft, where you're sitting there, Jerick McKinnon will be the number one running back in San Francisco this year. You watch. Yeah, Jerick McKinnon will be the number one running back in San Francisco this year.
Yeah, you did say that like 2 years ago, and I laughed at you then, and I'll laugh at you again.
But wait a minute. In my defense, he got hurt. He didn't have a chance to be. Listen, you can't judge by injury, right?
I suppose I could also I could judge by what he did when he got the lead running back job in Minnesota when Latavius Murray got hurt or whatever, and he still did nothing. So
no, what do you mean he didn't do nothing? He caught 55 balls for 500 and something yards.
And what did he run for?
Listen.
Yes.
But this is Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan wants to pass the ball to his running backs.
McKinnon, until you show me you can do it, you can't do it.
Listen. Jerick McKinnon will be number one in San Francisco. You watch. In week 5, when you're watching Scott Hanson go, and the Jerick McKinnon show continues in San Francisco, you're going to be like, damn, Jigsaw again, calling it again.
Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. I'll tell you what. Look, there is a very good possibility that I do say that to you because you've come out with some outlandish things that I'm like, I will never have to pay up on this. It could be one of them because I will tell you, you impress me. You impress
Thank you, John.
me with some of the dude, and you have some.
I know.
So far. I mean, you come out with some stuff, but I tell you what, you got a good hit rate. I'll tell you what, if I'm about to put like 5 lottery tickets into your comments because they come true more often than not.
You know, it's funny. When I read into stuff and I watch things, I look at things the way they play out, and again, like when I'm doing these, I do these fancy fixes every day for the gambler, and I did one of McKinnon last week, and as I was doing the research, I was like, wow, you know what? I'm like, I expected him to be good this year if he's healthy. But then I start looking at Mostert, I look at Tevin Coleman, and I'm like, okay, they're really neither one of those guys catch the ball. And I'm thinking, you know what? McKinnon got brought here to be the Devonta Freeman of the San Francisco 49ers, and he got hurt, and he couldn't be that guy. And if you look at Shanahan in 15, 16, and 17, he's had it at the lowest 126 targets at a running back. He can't do that right now in San Francisco with the 2 guys he has, but he can do it with Jerick McKinnon. So I'm just saying, if he's healthy, he's going to fall in love with that guy because that's the guy he wanted. He's going to force it on everybody, and I'll tell you what, you'll be saying, God damn, Tony, you got another one again. That's all I'm going to say.
Another one again.
Yeah, number one again. But listen, everybody.
All I'm saying is, look, I disagree with you more than anybody, probably.
Yeah, you do.
I will tell you, son of a gun, if you don't hit on some outlandish shit often.
Well, listen, John, thanks for we didn't plan this tonight. John's his draft got canceled, so he was available to join me up on a fantasy Firebox. Again, we're going to be doing this all week long, whether it be me, myself, John. I have a bunch of people lined up. We're going to be doing at least a show once a week, be streamed on The Gambler, on Fox Sports, be given on. Great, Rick, thanks again, man. Thanks for checking in. Andre, thanks for checking in. Everybody else, thanks for checking in. Andre, you're probably going to hear, listen, Monday, we're off. Obviously, it's Labor Day. I don't think I'm going to do anything tomorrow night, but Jigsaw's Judgment will be back on Tuesday. Fantasy Fix every day, 3:50, Fox Sports The Gambler. Heat Ratio Podcast, I think we're going to take a break this week. Again, Andre, thanks, buddy, as always. Another avid follower, we appreciate it. Me and John will be getting you ready, whether me or John or both of us. I'm going to try to get something for a preview for the Thursday night game. Maybe we can hop on this for a little bit, or maybe we could do a show live reaction. We actually thought about doing that for the Heat Ratio too. So maybe we'll kind of combine the two on Thursday and see if we can do the Heat Ratio pod plus some fantasy talk, go live through the game, and then we'll get ready for the weekend. I will be going live on Sundays as well at 11 o'clock, get you ready for the game. And when John can join me when we don't have soccer, I'm sure he'll be able to join in as well. So again, everybody, thanks for tuning in at Heat Ratio Sports, at Cutillo 23, at PGH Tom 36. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch you next time.